We've been talking for a bit now about the likelihood, the fear that Donald Trump will approve a vaccine right before the election, regardless of whether it exists, can be purchased, has been tested, is safe, all of that. And we seem to be moving steadily towards that happening. In a letter to state governors and health departments obtained by The Hill, CDC Director Robert Redfield said the McKesson Corporation and its subsidiaries would soon be applying for permits to build distribution sites for a vaccine. He asked governors to consider waiving requirements that would delay construction or opening the sites. Now, let's say hypothetically that they are actually close to having a vaccine and it's close to being produced in the numbers that they would be able to have distribution sites. Wanting those to be available as soon as possible, all of that being accepted seems like a laudable goal. But wait until you find out about the timeline that they're working on. This is from CDC Director Robert Redfield, who said, CDC urgently requests your assistance in expediting applications for these distribution facilities and, if necessary, asks that you consider waiving requirements that would prevent these facilities from becoming fully operational by November 1st, 2020, which is another way of saying 2 days before the election. It might be, what, Adrian, is it just like a miracle that the vaccine's gonna be ready to go the week of the election? Are we that lucky?
And it's sad because there are people out there who this will be what tips them over to vote for Trump. And the worst thing is, I don't know about you, but I'm not taking any vaccine that was rushed through any kind of trials. Yeah, right. So I can grow an arm out of the side of my face. Get out of here. And the worst part is, you know, they're gonna try to get people who are brown and black to inject this stuff in them first. No, I'm good. I will wait. I want whatever Angela Merkel has to offer me. Like, that's what I want. I'm gonna fly to Germany and I'm gonna let them hit me up with stuff. I'm not doing that here, no.
I mean, the only problem with that plan is that if Germany is being responsible, they're not gonna allow an American off the plane.
I know, man, which is why I gotta get my spy game up. I'm gonna try. I will apply to the University of Germany. I don't know, I made that up, but I will apply. I'm getting over there. I'm not doing this here.
Yeah, now, Redfield assured governors that the requirements that might need to be waived would not compromise the safety or integrity of the products being distributed. I don't understand how he can say that the requirements that the states would be waiving won't cause any concerns or any problems. That doesn't seem like that's up to him. It seems like it's up to the states or potentially the manufacturer of the vaccine rather than Redfield. I don't know. But anyway, for context, Anthony Fauci has been saying for a long time, since January, in fact, that a vaccine would be unlikely to be ready before the end of 2020, sometime between that and the first half of 2021. Now, recently he has said, I believe that by the time we get to the end of this calendar year, that we will feel comfortable that we do have a safe and effective vaccine. But by the end of the calendar year, being relatively confident that we have a safe vaccine is different than and have distribution centers operating and giving people the vaccine 2 days before the election. So again, like with so many other things, I don't know exactly what I'm supposed to say. I'm just hoping to put this out here so that more people will know what the plan clearly is, and ideally that the media will know, because they love drama in elections. So when Donald Trump inevitably approves a vaccine 5 days before the election, says in 2 days you'll be able to go and get it, are they going to exercise critical thought and judgment? Are they gonna talk to doctors? Are they gonna like look at the actual information about the tests that were done, if they were even done? And I worry that it's just gonna be, vaccine authorization provides curveball in last days of election. It's just gonna be, hey, we don't have anything to do with this. We don't have any sort of journalistic job to accomplish. But man, isn't it exciting?
No, I completely and totally agree with you. And the thing that kind of really sits with me is the fact that the Tuskegee experiment just ended back in 1972. I've dated guys older than that. It's the fact that we have a society that has exploited vaccines and then they go whoops when things go bad. And they create these, oh, we're gonna compensate you, but it's not much compensation. It also takes a lot of legal fight and a lot of gumption that a lot of people don't have, and yet then they're stuck with all sorts of deformities, issues, and the fact that we have a government willing to rush through this vaccine and the trial situation just so that Trump can continue to stay in office is very problematic, because it's essentially just sacrificing people. And there will be people who will fall for it.
Yeah, potentially. Although in a recent poll, up to a third of Americans said that they're not going to be taking a vaccine once it becomes available. 20% are just opposed to vaccines in general. So a lot of that is just being against vaccines rather than being against this one. But that is still millions of Americans that hold that position. Here's a sick question for you. Is it progress that the American government used to care so little about the lives of Black and brown Americans that they would rush through medication by testing on them? Is it progress that now they don't care about any of our lives, and so they will authorize a vaccine that might end up killing us?
Yeah, I would say, hey, that is some progress, because the thing is, they're not gonna give it to wealthy white people. They will use it on all sorts of Black and brown people and poor white people. And so I really see this as, unfortunately, what capitalism is kind of nudging the race when it comes to racism. Like, I guess that's the only thing that we can say. Okay, we've replaced another ill.
Yeah. And it's like, how many votes will need to be swayed? Like, would a vaccine coming out and the promise that everything's going back to normal, would that sway 1% of the vote? How could it not sway 1% of the vote? 3% of the vote, maybe?
I'm just, after that, hydroxychloroquine, whatever they had, I don't understand how anyone could just be willing to pump themselves with whatever the president says is acceptable. And the worst part, and I don't mean to be horrible, but if he gets reelected into office and a bunch of these people who voted for him took these vaccines, they may not even be here with us to suffer while we suffer with him for another 4 years.
That's true. Yeah, and the sick thing is that in terms of actual sort of social or political consequences of that, I worry that the takeaway wouldn't be that this was an incredibly cruel, cynical, inhumane exploitation of the American people. It would be vaccines kill you.
Yes, exactly. And then we're gonna have people fighting just already credible vaccines, and it's gonna become even more problematic just to get people to not have typhoid and typhus show up again. It's just there's no hope here. And I don't understand why people continue to think there's hope in Trump.
I think that the only fair path is to, as a blanket rule, not just on COVID, test vaccines on Republican congressmen. That's the only fair way, because they assure us that they're so strong that they're not worried about disease. So their immune systems will lead the way.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.